What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, Secret Life of E. Of course, I am E, and you know I'm out here holding it down for that girl who's getting it and grinding, getting a couple coins and learning a few lessons. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. There is a whole bunch of good stuff going on this channel, you know, from dating to jobs to personal growth, motivation, whatever the case. If you're on that journey through adulthood, you definitely need to go ahead and subscribe to my channel because I'm giving that game, okay? So just go ahead and do that because you know you need to, okay? And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for taking the time to, you know, push that subscribe button because I appreciate that. And thank you for watching. If you guys comment, like, interact with me, listen, I am here for it and I'm so glad that you guys are too. So today's video is all about, you know, some questions that you should totally ask somebody, whether you're just getting to know them, finding an interest in them, or dating them, or whatever the case. These are just questions that need to be answered before you continue, okay? So let's jump into it. So the first question that you should always ask is, are you single? And let me tell you why. Because if you don't ask, they do not have to tell you, okay? And like I said in one of my other videos, like if you don't ask somebody and they come up, you know, in a relationship and y'all was in a club, bumping and grinding to boot up, okay? That is not anybody's fault but your own because you did not ask. And a lot of people have this whole don't ask, don't tell policy, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's how they function, okay, fine. But that means that you have to be asking these questions so that way you don't be out here looking stupid and getting your feelings hurt. So for starters, let's start asking, are you single? The next important question is, what are you looking for? Some people have like different ideas of what they want in their life at the moment, or you know what they're looking for at that moment. So you want to make sure that when you're interested in somebody that you guys are, you know, on the same page, because if you're looking for a relationship and they're not, but you guys haven't discussed that, that creates like a huge imbalance, and 9 times out of 10, somebody's gonna get their feelings hurt and get invested when they shouldn't because the other person doesn't want that. So with that being said, just politely ask, you know, what are you looking for? There is absolutely nothing wrong with that question. That doesn't mean that you're looking for something with them. That just is asking them, like, what are you looking for? So let's ask that too. This next question is for my mature folks out there who are, you know, not in their early 20s. It's time to start asking, what is your 3-year plan? Okay, I need to know that you have a plan for your life. I need to know that you have some goals, and I need to know that you're not okay with where you are. Like, let's be about that progress, okay? So start asking what those 3-year plans look like, and if they have one, and if they don't, why don't you have one? You know, like, because I feel like at this age, like, you know, early or late 20s and almost early 30s, you probably don't have everything that you want to have at that moment, and you're not exactly where you want to be. But it's super important to understand like the steps that you need to take to get there. So with that being said, that's why I said it's not for the, you know, early 20s people. It's for the later, you know, real grown folks out there. Like, let's have those 3-year plans. Let's figure out if the other person does, and if they don't and you do, listen, they need to get their stuff together for a second before you move forward. So with that being said, let's see what those plans talking about. Another huge question to ask is, who do you live with? Because people will be living and shacking with a whole nother person and still be trying to entertain you, and nobody has time for that. So definitely ask, who do you live with? Because nobody has time to be shacking up with somebody who's already shacking, and nobody has time to be dating and dealing with somebody who just can't get out of their mother's house or their father's house or whatever the case. Like, unless of course it's like a reason why, like they have a sick parent or they fell on hard times, there's, you know, situations that can be excluded. But with that being said, you can find out what those situations are if you ask that question. So let's start asking, who do you live with? Another huge question is, do you have a job? Like, do you have income? Are you hustling? Like, do you sell drugs? You know, like, these things are important because if they don't have a job and they're doing illegal things, you need to know that. So that way you know how to move around them. Because me, listen, if it's me and I'm dealing with somebody who is a drug dealer, I don't want to be out with you. I don't want to ride with you. I don't want to go to your house. I don't want to do any of that because I don't know, you know, I don't know about that. So ask these people, where do you get your money from? Because that is super important. And let me just clarify. asking somebody where they get their money from is not how much do you make, because if somebody asks me how much I make off the rip, I'm gonna tell them to mind their business. So I'm not saying go ask how much money do you have. I'm telling you to ask what do you do for your income, okay? The next question that you want to make sure you're asking is, do you have kids, and if so, how many? A lot of people have children, especially the older you get. It's really hard to be, you know, almost 30 and meeting people who do not have kids. Like, that's a part of life. So with that being said, some people will have children and hide those children, okay? Hide your kids, hide your wife type, like, and we don't have time for that. Like, I don't need to be dating you and then, you know, years down the line, you have a teenager, a newborn, and a toddler. Like, no, we're not doing that. So let's just find out how many kids they're working with, and, you know, how many baby mamas, etc. Like, let's just get that all cleared up, okay? So definitely ask, do they have kids? How many parents are involved? All that good stuff. So these next 4 questions are for the people who have been dating and, you know, are trying to figure out if they really want to be together and they actually are starting to get to know each other. These probably aren't the questions that you want to ask like early on, because it's kind of weird, but I definitely do think these are some questions that need to be answered as well, especially if you're starting to get serious. So the first important question is, what does your relationship look like with your parents? And the reason why that this is an important question is because parents raise kids, and it's important to know how somebody was raised. If they were raised in a 2-parent household, if one person was absent, if the other person, you know, did it all, whatever the case, you need to know what that dynamic looks like, because a lot of things that people deal with stem from their relationship with their parents and how their parents were when they were growing up. Granted, some people do make amends and they do get past those things, and then on the other hand, you have some people who have mommy issues and daddy issues. Whatever the case, we need to know that before we can, you know, progress. Like, let's figure out, you know, what did your house look like when you were little? Are you past those things? What was some struggles? You know, like, I need to know you, okay? And that's one huge question that is a really good question if you're trying to get to know somebody. So yeah, go ahead and ask, what does the relationship look like with your parents? The next serious question that you want to ask is, do you have any debt? Because listen, debt is real, student loans are real, repossession is real, evictions are real, okay? And if you're trying to get serious with somebody on like a real serious level, their debt could become your debt, okay? And nobody has time for that. So let's just get that out of the way. Do you have any debt? Do you owe anybody? What's going on? Like, I need to know that before I can fully commit to you, because if you fall behind, then hey, that might sprinkle over onto me, and y'all know I'm serious about that coin. So do you have any debt? So my next serious question is, what is your credit score? And this is a serious question for those serious relationships, because listen, credit is real, and if y'all been on my channel, y'all know that I've been working on my credit. I have 2 videos up about credit, and y'all can go check those out. I'm gonna link them in the description down below. But if you guys are getting that serious and you can't ask about that credit, like if y'all sleeping and shacking but you can't ask what their credit score is, that's a red flag, honey, and we need to just talk about that before we can move forward. So with that being said, ask what their credit score is, because if you're getting serious with somebody and you guys start, you know, merging worlds, it's going to be important to know each other's credit situation before that, especially when like cars and joint bank accounts and houses and all that stuff come into play. Like, you need to know what that credit is looking like, and they need to know what yours is looking like as well. So definitely that credit conversation needs to be had. And the last serious question to ask is going to be, do you see yourself with kids or being married? And the reason why that's really important is because if you're trying to, you know, establish a long-term relationship with someone and they don't want kids and you do, or you want to be married and they don't, y'all need to really talk about that kind of stuff, because if you don't talk about it and then you get serious and, you know, you start wanting things but it wasn't necessarily in their future, that could cause a problem. So it's really important to figure out what each of you, you know, sees or saw in your future, and just talk about like if there's room for compromise, if one person wanted something and the other person didn't, etc. So definitely ask them what their whole goal was as far as like marriage and kids, because that is super important, okay? So that wraps it up for this video. Those are just a few questions that definitely need to be asked. Let's start having these conversations and stop going into things so blindly. Like when we have like all full range to ask questions. Like, you cannot get to know somebody if you don't ask questions. And don't just limit it to these questions. Like, I'm just trying to open up the conversation, okay? Like, come up with your own questions. Really get to know people before you start investing your time, your energy, your body, whatever the case. Like, start really getting to know people. If you guys like this video, hit that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe, because you know I will be around continuing the conversation about that real stuff. You can also check out my Instagram and also the website. I do a little bit of blogging. If you guys enjoy reading, it's some of the same content, very similar. So if you guys like this content, I'm pretty sure you'll like that content too. So go ahead and check that out. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.